I was cooking meat in the woods. A voice rang out. Can I come you? I froze when she appeared. The fire crackled softly in the quiet evening air. Jake Sullivan sat on a fallen log, watching the flames dance around the metal grill. He had placed over the fire pit. The smell of cooking trout filled the small clearing where he had set up his camp. After 3 days alone in the Montana wilderness, this was exactly what he needed. Jake had left his phone in the truck, parked 5 miles back on the main trail. No calls, no emails, no reminders of the world he had left behind. Just him, the forest, and the peaceful sound of wind moving through pine trees. His military boots were unlaced beside his tent, and for the first time in months, his shoulders felt relaxed. The fish sizzled on the grill. Jake had caught it that morning from the clear mountain stream that ran nearby. Fresh trout, seasoned with salt and pepper from his pack, cooked over an open fire. Simple food, but it tasted better than any restaurant meal he could remember. He turned the fish carefully with his camping fork. The skin was getting crispy, just the way he liked it. His stomach growled softly. It had been a long day of hiking, and he was ready to eat. The forest around him was quiet, not the empty quiet of cities, but the full quiet of living things settling down for the night. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called. Closer by, he could hear the soft splash of water moving over rocks in the stream. Jake smiled slightly. This was why he came here every year. After each deployment, after each mission, he needed this time alone to remember who he was beneath the uniform. Here, he was not Sergeant Sullivan. He was just Jake, a man cooking dinner by a campfire. He reached for his water bottle and took a long drink. The water was cold and clean. Everything here was clean. The air, the water, the simple rhythm of day and night. No complicated orders, no difficult decisions, no lives hanging in the balance of what he did or did not do. The fish was almost ready. Jake could see the meat flaking apart when he pressed it gently with the fork. Just a few more minutes. That was when he heard the voice. Can I come you? Jake froze. The fork stopped moving in his hand. His body went still the way it had been trained to do when danger was near. Every sense became sharp and focused. Someone was out there in the darkness beyond his small circle of firelight. Someone who spoke English, but not quite right. The words were wrong. Like someone learning the language from books but never hearing it spoken. Jake's eyes moved quickly around the edge of his camp. His rifle was in his tent, 3 steps away. His knife was on his belt. His hand moved slowly toward it, but he did not grab it yet. Hello? Jake called out, keeping his voice calm and steady. Who's there? Please, the voice came again. It was soft, careful. I am ... hungry. The voice was female, Jake thought. Young, maybe. And there was something in it that made him pause. Not threat, but fear. Whoever was out there was scared. Jake had been a soldier for 8 years. He knew. The sound of danger, and this was not it. This was someone asking for help. Come forward slowly, Jake said. Into the light where I can see you. You will not hurt. The words were still wrong, but Jake understood. I won't hurt you, he said. Come on. There was a long pause. Jake could hear soft footsteps on the forest floor, moving carefully through the trees. Branches moved gently as someone pushed through them. Then she stepped into the firelight, and Jake's world changed forever. She was tall, very tall, maybe 7 feet, but moving in a way that seemed graceful, not awkward. Her skin had a strange shine to it, like it had tiny lights under the surface. In the firelight it looked blue and silver at the same time, but it was not her height or her skin that made Jake stare. It was her arms. She had 4 of them. Where arms should be, and 2 more that came from her back, moving independently like they each had their own mind. Her face was mostly human-shaped, but longer and thinner. Her eyes were large and dark, and they reflected the firelight like an animal's eyes. Her hair was white and moved in the breeze like it was alive. She was the most beautiful and most terrifying thing Jake had ever seen. She stood at the edge of his firelight, trembling. Not from cold, Jake realized, but from fear and exhaustion. Her strange clothes were torn and dirty. Her forearms hung at her sides like she did not have the strength to lift them. But what Jake noticed most was how thin she was. Too thin. Starving. Thin. Jake's military training told him to reach for his weapon. This was not human. This was impossible. This was dangerous. But Jake looked at her large, frightened eyes and saw something else. Someone who was lost and hungry and scared. Someone who had taken a huge risk just to ask for help. Jake made a choice that would change everything. He took the cooked fish off the grill and set it on a metal plate. Then he stood up slowly, keeping his movements calm and non-threatening. "Are you hungry?" he asked gently. Eyes went wide. She looked at the fish, then at Jake, then back at the fish. One of her hands moved toward her stomach. "Yes," she whispered, very hungry. Jake held out the plate. "Then eat." She stared at him for a long moment, like she could not believe what she was seeing. Then very carefully, she took a step forward, then another. When she reached for the plate, Jake saw that her hands were shaking. "Sorry," Jake said softly. "You're safe here." She took the plate with two of her hands and held it like it was the most precious thing in the world. Then she looked up at Jake with those large, dark eyes. "Thank you," she said, and this time the words came out right. Jake nodded and sat back down, giving her space. He watched as she sat carefully on the ground and began to eat the fish with her fingers. She ate quickly but politely, like someone who had not eaten in a very long time but still remembered good manners. As she ate, Jake realized that everything he thought he knew about the world had just changed. But somehow, sitting by his campfire and watching a hungry stranger eat his dinner, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. After all, sharing food with someone who needed it was what humans did. The strange being finished eating the fish in less than 5 minutes. She held the empty plate in her 4 hands and looked at Jake with those large, dark eyes. Her whole body seemed more relaxed now, less shaky. "Thank you," she said again, her voice stronger now. "I have not eat for ... many days." Jake nodded. "What's your name?" he asked slowly, speaking clearly. She tilted her head, thinking, name. She touched her chest with one hand. "I am ... She made a sound that was like music and wind mixed together. Then she frowned. "Your words ... hard you call me ... She thought for a moment, looking frustrated. Jake could see her trying to find words in a language that was not her own. "Lyra," she said finally. "You call me Lyra. It's close to my real name." "Lyra," Jake repeated. "That's a beautiful name. I'm Jake."
"I'm Jake,"
she said, and smiled for the first time. When she smiled, her face looked even more human. "Jake is a good name." Jake added more wood to the fire. The flames grew higher, casting dancing shadows on both of them. "Where are you from, Lyra?" Lyra looked up at the stars that were starting to appear in the darkening sky. She pointed with one of her 4 hands to a bright star near the horizon. "From there," she said, "very far. My world is ... She struggled with the words. "My world is dying. Dying." Jake asked gently. Lyra nodded sadly. "Plants stop growing. Animals gone. Water turns bad. My people ... we have no food. No place to live." Jake felt his chest tighten. I had seen war, had seen places where people lost everything. But an entire world dying was something he could barely imagine. "How did you get here?" he asked. "Ship," Lyra said. She held her hands apart to show size. "Big ship. But only for one person. Only for me." "Why you?" Lyra was quiet for a long time. She stared into the fire, and Jake could see sadness in her large eyes. "My people send me to look," she said finally. "It's to find new world. New place to live, they say. Find empty world. Take it." Jake raised his eyebrows. "Take it? Yes," Lyra said, then looked at Jake's expression. "But this world not empty, has people, as you. What were you supposed to do if you found people here?" Lyra looked uncomfortable. She moved her 4 hands nervously. "My people say if world has people, we fight. We take anyway. People here just animals to us." Jake felt cold, but he kept his voice calm. "What do you think now?" Lyra looked at him with wonder in her eyes. You give me food, you not know me. Not know what I am, but you give me food. She shook her head slowly. My people never do this. We only help family, only help same people. That's just what people do, Jake said. When someone is hungry, you feed them. No, Lyra said firmly. Not all people do this. My people not do this. In all the worlds my people know, no one do. This. She stared at Jake like he was as strange to her as she was to him. You are different kind of people. Jake picked up a stick and drew lines in the dirt near the fire. Many of your people are there. Lyra understood. She took the stick and drew a circle. Then she made many small marks inside it. Many. She said many thousand, all hungry, all need new home. And they're coming here? Yes. Ship coming. Big ship with all my people. They think I find empty world. They think they can just take. Jake felt his stomach drop. He thought about cities, full of people, families, children. He thought about his own family back home. Then he looked at Lyra, this strange, beautiful being who had risked everything just to ask for food. How long before they get here? Lyra held up fingers. 7 days, maybe 8. Jake was quiet for a moment. 7 days. That was not much. Time, Lyra, he said carefully. What if there was another way? What if your people didn't have to fight? What if we could find a way for everyone to live together? Lyra looked confused. Together? Your people and my people? Why not? Because, ... double quotes, Lyra struggled with the idea. Because we are different. Because your people want to keep your world. Oh. My people need world too. What if the world was big enough? For everyone. Lyra stared at him. You would share? Even with strangers? You're not a stranger anymore, Jake said with a small smile. You're Lyra. You're someone who needed help. And now you're sitting by my fire. Lyra was quiet for a long time. She looked at the empty plate in her hands, then at Jake, then at the fire. My people will not understand, she said finally. They think all other people are enemies. They think sharing makes you weak. What do you think? Lyra considered this. I think, she said slowly, you are not weak. You give me food, but you are not afraid of me. You are kind, but you are also strong. I can see it. Jake smiled. Your people might be surprised by humans. Yes, Lyra said. They will be very surprised. She paused. Jake, your people have leaders, people who make big decisions. Yes. Why? Because I need to tell them. I need to warn them. My people coming, and they think this is empty world. Your people need to know. Jake felt a chill. 7 days to convince 2 different species not to fight each other. 7 days to find a way for them to live together instead of destroying each other. But looking at Lyra, this alien being who had learned kindness from one shared meal, Jake thought maybe it was possible. Maybe humans had something to offer that was more powerful than weapons. Will you help me? Lyra asked quietly. Will you help me talk to your people? Jake looked at this strange, tall being with 4 arms and glowing skin, who had traveled across the stars only to discover that sometimes strangers shared their food with no reason except kindness. Yes, Jake said. I'll help you. Lyra smiled again. And in that smile, Jake saw hope. Jake spent the next hour asking questions and drawing pictures in the dirt. Lyra tried her best to explain her world, her people, their long journey to Earth. But as the night grew darker and the fire burned lower, Jake realized there was something Lyra was not telling him. Lyra, Jake said gently, why did your people really send you alone? Why not send a group of scouts? Lyra became very still. Her 4 hands stopped moving, and she stared into the fire for a long time. Because, she said quietly, we are running. Running from what? Lyra looked up at the stars again, but this time her expression was full of fear, from the devourers. The way she said the word made Jake's skin cold. What are devourers? They eat worlds, Lyra whispered. They come to a planet and eat everything. All plants, all animals, all life. Then they move to next world. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. They're following you? Yes. Lyra's voice was so quiet Jake could barely hear her. They find my world 2 years ago. They eat everything. My people escape, but not all. Many die. How many of these devourers are there? Many ships, many creatures. Lyra drew circles in the dirt, then filled them with marks. They follow. Our trail through space. They follow to here. Jake stared at the drawings. They're coming to Earth too? Yes. Maybe 3 days behind my people, maybe 4. 8. Jake felt the world spinning around him. Not only were Lyra's people coming to Earth in 7 days, but something even worse was following them. Lyra, why didn't you tell me this before? Yes. Because I am afraid, she said, looking at him with those large, sad eyes. I am afraid you will. Hate me. Your world will die because of my people, because we bring danger here. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he reached over and gently touched one of Lyra's hands. It's not your fault, he said. You didn't choose this. Lyra looked surprised by his touch and his words. You do not hate me? No, Jake said firmly. But we need to warn people. We need to tell Earth's leaders right now. How? Jake stood up and walked to his backpack. He pulled out a small device that looked like a phone, but was thicker and had a longer antenna. Military radio, he explained. It can reach far distances. Jake turned on the radio and began adjusting the frequency. Static filled the air. Then, slowly cleared, this is Sergeant Jake Sullivan. Service number 4472981, he spoke into the radio. I need immediate contact with Northern Command. Emergency situation. The radio crackled. Then a voice came through. Sergeant Sullivan, this is base operations. What's your emergency? Jake looked at Lyra. How could he explain this in a way that people would believe? Sir, I have information about incoming alien contact. 2 separate alien groups approaching Earth. I have 1 alien individual with me who can provide details. There was a long pause. Sergeant, please repeat that. I have first contact with an alien being. She's peaceful but warns of 2 alien groups approaching Earth. 1 group arrives in 7 days, another group 3 days later. The second group is hostile. Sergeant Sullivan, stay on your current location. Do not move. Teams are being sent to you immediately. The radio went silent. Jake looked at Lyra, who had been listening with growing worry. They will hurt me, she asked. No, Jake said. But they'll want to ask you many questions. Will they believe? Before Jake could answer, his radio crackled again. This time the voice was different, more serious. Sergeant Sullivan, this is General Morrison. I've seen some unusual readings on our satellite systems. Multiple objects approaching from deep space. Can you confirm? Jake felt cold. Yes, sir. The alien with me says her people arrive in 7 days. Aliens arrive 3 days after that. We're tracking at least 12 large objects on approach vector. Sergeant, we're sending helicopters to your location. Extraction in 2 hours. Understood, sir. Jake turned off the radio and looked at Lyra. They already see your people's ships. Lyra nodded sadly. Shh. Yes, my people do not hide. They think this world is empty. They think no one watching. What will they do when they arrive? They will land and start taking what they need. Food, water, places to live. If your people try to stop them, my people will fight. Jake sat back down by the fire. And your people don't know about the devourers following them? They know. But they think if we take this world fast, we can fight the devourers from here. They think your people too weak to help. Do you think we're too weak? Lyra looked at Jake with something like amazement. No, I think your people very strong. But not the way my people understand strong. What do you mean? My people think strong means big weapons, fast ships, taking what you want. Lyra touched her chest. But you strong in here. You give food to stranger. You listen when stranger tells you scary things. You want to help even when it's dangerous for you. Jake smiled slightly. That's just being human. Yes, Lyra said. I think that is stronger than my people know. In the distance, they could hear the sound of helicopters approaching. Jake began putting out the fire and packing his gear. Lyra, he said, as he worked, when we get to the military base, they're going to ask you to contact your people. Out, too. Tell them Earth isn't empty. They will not listen to me, Lyra said sadly. I am just scout. Leaders do not listen to scouts. Ah! Then we'll have to make them listen. How? Jake shouldered his backpack and looked at Lyra. The helicopters were getting closer, their lights starting to show through the trees. I don't know yet, Jake said honestly. But humans are good at figuring things out when we have to. And now, we have to. The helicopters landed in the clearing beside Jake's camp. Soldiers poured out, weapons ready but not pointing at anyone. Jake stepped forward with his hands visible. I'm Sergeant Sullivan, he called out. A captain approached. Where's the alien? Jake looked back at Lyra, who stood tall and calm despite her obvious fear. Her name is Lyra, Jake said. And she just saved our world by warning us. As the soldiers saw Lyra for the first time, Jake realized that everything was about to change. It's not just for him and Lyra, but for everyone on Earth. The real test was just beginning. The military base was busy with activity. Soldiers ran everywhere, carrying equipment and messages. Scientists set up computers and strange machines. Everyone moved with the speed of people who knew time was running out. Jake and Lyra sat in a large conference room with General Morrison and 12 other important military leaders. Lyra had answered questions for 6 hours straight. She drew pictures of her people's ships, explained their weapons, and described the Devourers as best she could. So your people have advanced technology, General Morrison said, but they plan to take our resources by force. Yes, Lyra said sadly. They think humans too weak to stop them. And these Devourers are even more dangerous? Much more dangerous. They eat everything. Nothing stops them. Many worlds tried to fight. All failed. The generals looked at each other with worried faces. Jake could see they were thinking about war, about weapons, about how to fight two alien groups at the same time. General, Jake said. I have an idea. Go ahead, Sergeant. What if we don't fight at all? The room became very quiet. Everyone stared at Jake. Explain, General Morrison said. Jake stood up and walked to the big screen on the wall. Lyra's people need a new home. We have space. The Devourers want to destroy everything. Both want to stop them. Instead of fighting each other, we work together. Work together? One of the generals asked. With aliens we've never met? Why not? Jake asked. Lyra's people have technology. We have something they need too. What do we have that they could want? Jake looked at Lyra, then back at the generals. We know how to cooperate. We know how to make strangers into allies. Lyra told me her people only help family members. But look what happened when I shared my food with her. Lyra nodded. Is right. My people never think to work with strangers. But humans do this naturally. It's impossible, another general said. Every species looks out for themselves first. No, Lyra said firmly. Not humans. Jake helped me when he not know what I am. Your soldiers bring me here safe when they could just capture me. Humans different. General Morrison leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing, Sergeant? I want to talk to Lyra's leaders and our leaders at the same time. I want to propose an alliance before anyone starts shooting. And if they refuse, then we're no worse off than we are now. But if they agree, we have a chance to stop the Devourers and save both our species. The generals talked quietly among themselves for several minutes. Finally, General Morrison turned back to Jake. How would this work? Jake looked at Lyra. Can you contact your people's ships? Yes, I have communication device, but my leaders will not listen to me. They'll listen if they're talking to Earth's leaders at the same time, Jake said. We make it official. Government to government. General Morrison thought about this. It's crazy enough that it might work. But what do we offer them? Land, Jake said. We have empty places where they can build new cities. Share our food. Production methods. We help them adapt to Earth. And in return, they share their technology. They help us fight the Devourers. And most importantly, they don't attack our cities. Lyra looked excited. This could work. My people respect strength. If you show you are strong enough to choose cooperation over fear, they will be impressed. Will they trust us? General Morrison asked. Trust comes from action, Lyra said. You already trust me. You bring me to your secret base. You listen to my warnings. You not lock me in cage? Jake smiled. She's right. We're already showing them how humans operate. General Morrison made his decision. Set it up. We'll contact the President and the UN Security Council. If we're going to do this, we do it right. 2 hours later, the most important conversation in human history began. On the main screen, they could see President Wilson in the White House Situation Room. On another screen, representatives from Russia, China, Britain, France, and other major nations appeared. And on Lyra's device, strange alien faces looked back at them. Leaders of Earth, Jake began. Meet the leaders of Lyra's people, who call themselves the Zephyrians. They are refugees from a dying world, seeking a new home. The Zephyrian leader, who looked like a larger version of Lyra, spoke in musical tones. Lyra, translated, Commander Thale says they come to take this world because they must survive. President Wilson leaned forward. Tell Commander Thale that we understand their need, but we propose something different. We propose partnership, Lyra translated. Commander Thale looked surprised and spoke again. He asks why you would share your world with strangers, Lyra said. Because that's what humans do, Jake said simply. We help people who need help. Conversation continued for 3 hours. Earth's leaders offered empty land in Canada, Australia, and other countries where Zephyrian cities could be built. They offered to share farming technology and water purification methods. They offered medical help and educational exchange. In return, the Zephyrians would share their advanced energy technology, their space travel knowledge, and their weapon systems to fight the Devourers. Commander Thale spoke for a long time, his musical voice rising and falling. Lyra listened, carefully, then turned to the screen. He says this is impossible. He says no species in the galaxy does this. He says there must be a trick. No trick, President Wilson said. Just humans being human. Tell him about the refugee camps, the British representative added. Tell him how we've helped millions of displaced people throughout history. Lyra translated this to, Commander. Thal's expression changed. He looked confused, then amazed. He wants to know why you help people who are not your family, Lyra said. Jake stepped forward, because everyone becomes family when they need help. When Lyra translated this, something extraordinary happened. Commander Thal's 4 hands moved in what Lyra later explained was a gesture of deep respect. He agrees, Lyra said, tears in her large eyes. Says, if humans are strong enough to choose kindness over fear, then Zephyrians will be honored. To fight beside you, the room erupted in quiet celebration. But Jake held up his hand. Now comes the hard part, he said. We have 3 days to prepare for the Devourers. General Morrison smiled. Then we better get to work. For the first time since this all began, Jake felt hope. Humans and aliens working together. Maybe they actually had a chance. 3 days passed faster than anyone wanted. The Zephyrian ships had landed in designated areas around the world. Their tall, 4-armed people worked alongside human engineers, sharing technology and building defensive systems. Jake stood in the Joint Command Center, watching screens that showed data from both human satellites and Zephyrian sensors. Lyra was beside him, translating between the two species when electronic translators failed. Contact, announced a technician. Multiple large objects entering the solar system. On the main screen, dark shapes appeared against the stars. The Devourer ships were massive, each one the size of a city. Their surfaces looked like they were made of twisted metal and organic matter mixed together. How many? General Morrison asked. 15 ships, Lyra said, reading Zephyrian displays. More than we expected. Commander Thal's voice came through the speakers, musical but urgent. Lyra translated. He says this is the largest Devourer fleet anyone has ever seen. It must have been gathering ships from many destroyed worlds. Jake felt his stomach tighten, but he kept his voice calm. What's our combined fleet strength? 12 Zephyrian ships and all human military forces, the general replied. We're outnumbered, Jake said, but we have something they don't expect. What's that? 2 species working as one? The Devourer ships moved slowly toward Earth, like giant predators approaching prey. As they came closer, everyone could see how alien and terrifying they looked. Their hulls seemed to pulse like living things, and strange lights moved under their surfaces. "They're not responding to any communication," reported the communications officer. "They never talk," Lyra said. "Sadly, they only consume." The first attack came 6 hours later. Devourer ships launched thousands of smaller craft toward. But they met something they had never encountered before: perfectly coordinated defense by two different species. Human fighter jets worked alongside Zephyrian energy weapons. Human military strategy combined with Zephyrian technology, and in the command center, Jake found himself doing something he never expected, commanding mixed groups of humans and Zephyrians. "Echo Squadron, support the Zephyrian ship on your left," Jake spoke into his headset. "Zephyrian, Cruiser 7. Human destroyers are covering your advance." What amazed Jake most was how quickly the two species learned to work together. Human pilots adapted to Zephyrian energy shields. Zephyrian warriors learned human tactical formations. Within hours, they were fighting like they had trained together for years. "This is impossible," Commander Thale said through Lyra's translation. "My people have never worked with aliens before. But your humans make it feel natural." "Humans are good at bringing people together," Jake replied. "Even when those people have 4 arms and blue skin." The battle continued for 2 days. The Devourers were strong, but they had always fought against divided, panicked civilizations. They had never faced two species that supported each other completely. On the second day, Jake noticed something important. "General, look at the Devourer formation. They're fighting like they always do, each ship for itself." General Morrison studied the screens. "You're right. They have no coordination between ships." "But we do," Jake said with growing excitement. "We can use that." Jake's plan was simple but brilliant. While Zephyrian ships with their superior speed drew Devourer attention to one side, human submarines launched surprise attacks from Earth's oceans where the Devourers couldn't detect them. Human satellites guided Zephyrian energy weapons to precise targets. Human logistics kept Zephyrian ships supplied with power and repairs. Most importantly, human communication skills kept both fleets working together, even in the chaos of battle. "Devourer command ship is damaged," Lyra announced excitedly. "Commander Thale says without their leader, the other ships will retreat." "All units, focus on the command ship," Jake ordered. What happened next became legend. A human aircraft carrier and a Zephyrian battlecruiser attacked the Devourer command ship from two sides at exactly the same moment. The massive alien vessel, which had destroyed countless worlds, broke apart under the combined assault. The remaining Devourer ships, exactly as Lyra predicted, turned and fled into deep space. In the command center, humans and Zephyrians cheered. Together, Jake saw General Morrison shake hands with Commander Thale, using all 4 of the aliens' arms. He saw human technicians hugging Zephyrian engineers. "We did it," Lyra said to Jake, her large eyes bright with joy. "We actually did it." "No," Jake said with a smile. "We did it, all of us together." 6 months later, Jake sat by another campfire in the same Montana woods where it all began. But this time, he wasn't alone. Lyra sat across from him, now wearing clothes designed for Earth's weather. Beside her sat Dr. Chen, a human scientist who was working with Zephyrian technology. Next to the fire, Commander Thale himself was carefully cooking fish using a method Jake had taught him. "You know," Dr. Chen said, "the joint cities are working. Better than anyone expected. Humans and Zephyrians living together, sharing ideas." "The agricultural programs are amazing," added Sarah, a farmer who now grew crops using Zephyrian soil enhancement. "We're feeding more people than ever before." Commander Thale spoke in his musical language. Lyra translated. "He says the galaxy is watching Earth with wonder. No one has ever seen two species become true partners." "What's next?" Jake asked. "Well," Dr. Chen said, "we've had contact from 3 other species asking for help with their own Devourer problems." Jake looked around the campfire at his friends, human and alien, scientist and farmer. military and civilian, all brought together by the simple human act of sharing food with a stranger. "I guess we better get cooking," Jake said, adding more fish to the grill. "We're going to need a bigger campfire," Lyra laughed, a sound like music and wind. "Jake, do you think other humans know? Do they know that sharing food with one stranger saved the whole galaxy?" Jake smiled as he watched the fire dance between them all. "That's the thing about humans," he said. "We don't share food to save the galaxy. We share food because someone is hungry. The galaxy-saving part is just what happens when you're human." Above them, the stars shone down on a world where strangers had become family, where different species worked as one, and where the simple human act of kindness had changed everything. And in the distance, new ships approached Earth not as invaders, but as friends, seeking the same alliance that had saved two worlds and stopped the Devourers forever. The campfire crackled softly in the peaceful night, surrounded by the sounds of many different voices sharing stories and laughter under the infinite stars.